Attention gun owners. New court rulings are turning normal habits into criminal risks. Starting this spring, one small storage mistake could cost you $9,275. Last week, a 72-year-old named Patricia in Seattle got a warning call. She thought it was a scam until the deputy cited a real case. Her stomach dropped because her grandkids visit every weekend. She realized her safe enough setup might not be safe legally anymore. If you carry or store firearms, you need these updates before summer arrives. Let me be honest with you. Subscribers stay ahead because the rules move fast. People who aren't subscribed usually hear about changes after an arrest happens. That's not fear talk. That's how enforcement briefings actually work today. So choose which group you'll be in, starting right now. Subscribe and turn notifications on so you don't miss urgent updates. You don't need to be reckless to get charged with something serious. You just need to be normal, busy, and trusting old information. Courts don't care what you meant if the statute says otherwise. And prosecutors love gray areas because gray areas are easy to argue. This is why you must learn patterns, not rumors from a buddy. Here's the big idea you must understand before anything else today. The law can change through court decisions, even without new bills passing. That means last year's legal routine can become this year's legal trap. You won't get a personal letter, a warning email, or a free grace period. If you're stopped, you're expected to know the newest interpretation immediately. The first shift hits right at home, where you think you're safest. Some courts are backing stricter storage rules when minors might access firearms. It's no longer just locked up because definitions are getting very specific. Certain locks, boxes, and quick safes may not meet local requirements anymore. If a child touches it, charges can happen even without any injury. This makes me angry because it punishes good people who try hard. You can do everything right, yet still lose because of a technical detail. Meanwhile, criminals ignore storage laws and never feel the consequences anyway. So the burden falls on you, the person trying to be responsible. That's why you must tighten your process, not just your hardware. The second shift is about gun-free property, and it's spreading quietly. More rulings support broad power for private owners to ban carry on site. That's not just inside buildings, and it's not just posted doors. Lots, garages, and walkways can be included, depending on your state. If you cross a boundary, it can become trespass with a weapon attached. Now you're probably thinking, fine, I'll just watch for signs. I wish it were that simple, because signs can be tiny or placed oddly. Some places use generic symbols that aren't clear from your car window. And enforcement can claim you should have known, even if you missed it. So you need a habit that catches restrictions before you pull in. Let me tell you about Thomas. He's 74 years old in Denver, Colorado. He's a retired electrician, and he still helps neighbors with small repairs. He cares for peace of mind, and he's never had trouble anywhere. One Saturday, he drove to a clinic to pick up a prescription. He parked, stayed inside his truck, and checked messages for 5 minutes. A security guard knocked, and Thomas felt confused and a little embarrassed. The guard pointed at a sign Thomas hadn't seen from the driveway. It claimed the entire property was restricted, including the parking area. Thomas's hands tightened on the steering wheel because he didn't argue. He asked politely, "Do you want me to leave right now, sir?" Then it escalated fast, because the guard had already called local police. An officer arrived and asked if Thomas had a firearm in the vehicle. Thomas answered honestly, and his voice shook because he feared a charge. The officer said, "This could be criminal trespass," and Thomas went pale. They mentioned fines up to $3,960 and possible permit problems later. Thomas felt anger rise because he never even stepped out of the truck. He thought, how is a parking space suddenly treated like a courtroom? Thomas avoided arrest because he stayed calm and followed instructions precisely. He left immediately, documented the signage, and later spoke with an attorney. He also started checking property rules before every appointment, every time. Today he's fine, but he lost $140 in legal consult fees. His lesson was simple: the where matters as much as the how. The third shift hits home builders and hobbyists who like personal projects. Some courts are tightening what counts as making a firearm for distribution. Building for yourself may still be allowed, but transfers can create suspicion. Even gifting to a relative can trigger questions about your original intent. And intent is tricky because it can be argued using timing and messages. Here's what frustrates me about that approach from a fairness standpoint. A normal person changes their mind, sells items, or gives things away. But a prosecutor can treat that normal change as proof of a plan. So the safest move is to build a record of personal use over time. If you can't do that, you're playing chess against someone who hates you. Let me tell you about Barbara. She's 70 and lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's careful, organized, and she keeps receipts for almost everything. Her son asked for a home-built pistol for his birthday, and she hesitated. A friend offered to help her finish parts, and she spent $7,318 total. Barbara thought it was a sweet family gift, not a legal landmine. 2 months later, she mentioned the project in a group chat with friends. Someone replied, "Make 2 and sell 1." And Barbara laughed with an emoji. That joke later mattered more than it should have, and that's the scary part. A neighbor dispute turned ugly, and a complaint brought attention to her house. Barbara felt sick because her private life suddenly felt like a courtroom. It escalated when an investigator asked about her pattern and future plans. Barbara said, "It's a gift," and the investigator asked about her timeline. They hinted that quick transfers can look like business activity in practice. They also mentioned potential penalties near $12,640 if the case went federal. Barbara couldn't sleep because she imagined losing voting rights and freedom. She felt rage because she wasn't trafficking anything, she was helping family. And she felt fear because jokes and timing can be used like evidence. Barbara avoided disaster by pausing the transfer and getting real legal guidance. She documented personal use, stored everything correctly, and delayed any gifting. She also stopped talking about builds in chats, even harmless jokes. Today, she's safer, but she spent $2,335 on attorney review and letters. Her lesson is painful. Your words and timing can be treated like intent. The fourth shift affects travel, permits, and the "I thought I was covered" trap. Some rulings support states refusing other permits if standards don't match. That means recognition can shrink quickly, even if maps still show green. You could cross a state line legal, then be illegal after a policy change. So your pre-trip check can't be once a year, it must be recent. This makes me angry because it turns honest travel into a guessing game. A driver shouldn't need a law degree to visit family for a weekend. But that's the reality when reciprocity becomes a moving target in court. So your defense is planning, documentation, and knowing alternatives before you go. If you wait until the hotel, you've waited too long. Quick pause. What state are you watching from right now, and why? Drop your state name in the comments, because rules differ across borders. Your comment helps me tailor updates to where you actually live today. It also helps this reach other owners who are still in the dark. Comment your state below, and I'll keep tracking changes that affect you. The fifth shift is about private sales and how regular sales get judged. Courts are backing broader definitions of what counts as dealing for profit. You might think selling a few items is harmless, especially after an inheritance. But patterns, ads, and price language can be treated like business behavior. And once you're labeled a dealer, the compliance expectations jump dramatically. Let me tell you about William. He's 75 and lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. He inherited several firearms and wanted to simplify life after his wife passed. He listed a few locally, and he priced them to be fair. Over 9 months, he sold 4 pieces and cleared $6,972 total. He thought he was just downsizing, not stepping into a regulated role. Then a buyer asked for another model, and William helped locate it. He didn't buy it himself, but he connected the buyer with a friend. That small act created a network impression, and it changed how he looked. William felt uneasy because a harmless favor suddenly sounded like brokering. He thought, since when is helping someone find an item a crime? It escalated after a separate sale went wrong and police asked about his history. They reviewed messages, screenshots, and payment apps, looking for consistency. They suggested he might need licensing based on repeat activity over time. They mentioned fines around $10,590 and seizure risk if they pursued it. William's face flushed because he felt treated like a criminal for grieving. He felt helpless because he didn't know how to prove he wasn't in business. And the pressure hit hard because deadlines for responses can be very short. William protected himself by stopping all sales and moving through legal channels. He used a licensed dealer for transfers and kept records of every transaction. It cost him $614 in transfer fees, but it reduced much bigger risk. Today he's calmer because his process matches the strictest interpretation. His lesson is clear. If you sell repeatedly, assume you're being evaluated. The sixth shift involves accessories that increase firing speed or change function. Even if one rule gets struck down, states can keep their own bans. Some places are broadening definitions to include newer trigger devices too. Possession rules can be strict, and penalties can be harsh for parts alone. so you must check your state's list, not national headlines from last year. Here's what frustrates me about this part of the landscape today. A product can be legal in one zip code and a felony 2 hours away. Stores may sell things that later become restricted, leaving you holding risk. Then the burden becomes your job, your research, your paperwork, your storage. That's not how freedom should feel, but it's how enforcement works now. The seventh shift hits red flag style orders and the timing of hearings. Some courts are allowing temporary orders before you get to tell your side. You might only learn after the order is signed and service is attempted. Later hearings may exist, but the first moment can still change your life. So you must know what to do immediately if an order is filed. Let me tell you about Nancy. She's 69 and lives in Columbus, Ohio. Her adult nephew stayed with her briefly while he searched for a job. They argued one night and he left angry, slamming the door hard. 2 days later, Nancy got a knock and her knees felt weak. She didn't expect officers because she'd never been in trouble once. The officer said there was a temporary order and Nancy felt her chest tighten. She asked, "What did I do?" And the officer said it wasn't about punishment. She was told to surrender firearms until a later court date. Nancy started crying because she felt accused without a chance to speak. She kept saying, "I'm not dangerous," but her words didn't change procedures. It escalated because the order also affected her permit and her future purchases. She learned that missing the next hearing could extend the restrictions longer. She tried calling around, but lawyers wanted $4,180 for full representation. Nancy felt trapped because she lives on a fixed income and small savings. She felt anger because the process seemed designed for people with money. She also felt fear because she worried about being labeled permanently. Time pressure crushed her because deadlines don't pause for stress or tears. Nancy improved her outcome by showing up prepared and asking for clear evidence. She gathered texts, witness statements, and medical records that showed stability. She also requested a limited order rather than a broad one when possible. It wasn't easy, but she regained property after spending $1,965 on help. Her lesson is tough. If you're served, your next steps must be immediate. The eighth shift affects ammunition and the ability to buy without delays. Some states are increasing checks, fees, and verification requirements for ammo. Online sellers may stop shipping to certain areas because compliance is complex. Even small fees like $6.15 per transaction add up fast over time, and denials can happen from errors, not wrongdoing, which is insulting. This makes me angry because it punishes training and safe practice. You're told to train, but then you're charged and delayed for supplies. You're treated like a suspect for buying what you need to stay competent. So your defense is planning ahead and fixing records before you need ammo. Waiting until the weekend range trip can set you up for failure. The ninth shift is about vehicles and what carry means inside your car. Some rulings say a visible firearm in a vehicle isn't the same as open carry. That sounds helpful, but it can create confusion with transport and concealment rules. You might be not open carrying, yet still violating a transport statute, so you must separate carry rules from transport rules, even if they overlap. Let me tell you about Richard. He's 73 and lives in Jacksonville, Florida. He keeps a handgun for trips, but he's cautious and avoids trouble. One morning, he placed it in a console, then moved it to the seat. He thought visibility would help because he didn't want concealment accusations. At a traffic stop, the officer noticed it and asked questions quickly. Richard tried to explain, but his words came out messy and nervous. The officer asked whether he had a permit, and Richard said he was unsure. That uncertainty made everything worse because hesitation can look like deception. Richard felt fear because he realized he didn't understand transport rules clearly. He also felt shame because he thought he was doing the safe thing. It escalated when the officer mentioned that transport requirements can be separate. Richard learned that placement, accessibility, and casing can matter in his county. He faced potential costs near $8,230 if it became a legal fight. Richard's voice cracked because he worried about losing rights over confusion. He felt angry because the rules sounded like word games, not public safety. He felt pressured because roadside conversations aren't the place to learn law, and he realized too late that visible doesn't automatically mean legal. Richard avoided charges by cooperating and requesting clarity without arguing roadside. Later, he took a local class focused only on transport rules. He also adjusted his setup to match the strictest reading for his area. That class cost $312, but it saved him from much bigger trouble later. His lesson is simple. Your car is its own legal zone. The 10th shift hits training requirements, renewals, and the cost of compliance. Some courts are allowing states to require more hands-on training for permits. That can include live fire tests, longer classes, and limited approved locations. If you wait, requirements might increase, and appointments can fill months out. So if you want a permit, acting sooner can be safer than later. Real quick, if this is helping you, tap the like button now. Likes push this to more responsible owners who never hear updates. That means fewer good people get surprised at traffic stops or property lines. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps this reach the right audience. Hit like, and let's keep going, because the solutions matter most. Now let's shift from fear and anger into hope you can actually use. You can't control courts, and you can't control politics in every state, but you can control your routines, your documentation, and your decision points. When you build a simple system, you stop living on guesswork. And a good system can protect you even when the rules change again. The goal isn't to be paranoid or to stop living your life. The goal is to remove easy mistakes that turn honest people into defendants. You want fewer surprises, fewer roadside debates, and fewer "I didn't know" moments. That happens when you treat legality like maintenance, not like trivia. 5 minutes of checking can prevent months of stress later. Here's a mindset that helps you stay calm when the news feels overwhelming. Assume enforcement learns rules through briefings, not through your intentions. Assume signs and boundaries are enforceable, even when they feel unfair. Assume transfers and sales will be judged by patterns, not by stories. And assume that paperwork beats memory when you need to prove good faith. Think of your routine like a checklist you can repeat every month. Storage check, travel check, property check, transport check, and transfer check. When you repeat it, it becomes easy, and it stops feeling like homework. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Consistency is what keeps you out of gray areas where arguments thrive. Some viewers ask, should I just stop carrying until things settle down? I won't tell you what to do because your risk and needs differ. But I will tell you that ignorance is the most expensive option. If you carry with updated knowledge and cleaner habits. If you store like a court will read your setup literally. Think of someone who needs this information today, not next week. A parent, a friend, a neighbor, or the quiet guy at your range. Someone who could lose thousands just from one outdated assumption. Share this video with them right now and text the link immediately. Don't wait until later, because later is when mistakes happen. Now we're going to finish strong with clear actions you can take. You'll notice these steps don't depend on your politics or your opinions. They depend on your calendar, your phone, your files, and your habits. That's good news, because you can change those things starting this week. And small changes can block big consequences in most common scenarios. Here's exactly what you need to do. I'm giving you 5 steps today. Each step is simple, and none require special connections or insider access. You don't need to do everything today, but start with step 1. Write these down on paper because your phone will distract you fast. Do them in order because each step supports the next step. Ready to protect your freedom and your money without panic or drama? Step 1. Call your county clerk or local court helpline tomorrow morning. Ask how your county defines proper storage when minors could enter your home. Find the number on your county website, not a random forum post. When you call, say you want the current storage compliance language, in plain terms. Write down the exact phrases they use because wording matters later. Then compare that to your actual setup, not what you remember. Do this by Friday because you don't want to learn from an officer. Step 2. Before you enter any property, check rules like you check business hours. Use the venue's website, confirmation emails, and posted policy pages when available. If you can't find it, call and ask. Then write the answer down. Say, does your property ban firearms, including parking areas and garages? Clearly, if they say yes, don't argue, just plan a different stop. This one habit can save you $3,540 in trouble you never expected. Make this your new routine before every appointment, not just big trips. Step 3. Treat transfers, gifts, and sales like paperwork events, not casual favors. If you inherited firearms, move slowly and consider using license transfers. Keep records of dates, reasons, and how you decided pricing fairly. Avoid joking texts about selling, building, or moving inventory, even if harmless. If you built something yourself, document personal use and avoid quick transfers. If you're unsure, pay for a short consult instead of gambling with felony risk. Do this step this month because your messages can outlive your memory. Step 4. Create a travel and vehicle folder that updates every 2 weeks. Put screenshots of current reciprocity guidance and your state's transport rules inside. Keep it in your glove box and on your phone so it's accessible. If you're stopped, you'll be calmer when you know your own rules. Also practice a simple sentence. Officer, I want to comply. Please guide me. Don't debate law roadside because stress makes you sound suspicious fast. Set a reminder today because consistency beats confidence every single time. Step 5. Plan training and supply purchases like appointments, not last-minute errands. If your area adds requirements, the first pain you'll feel is scheduling delays. Book classes early, keep receipts, and store completion documents in one place. If ammo checks exist where you live, buy ahead to reduce repeated fees. If you get denied, request the reason immediately and start the fix process. This step protects your readiness and reduces the chance you'll rush into mistakes. Start this weekend because waiting turns small problems into urgent emergencies. Let's review what we covered because you need the big picture clear. Courts are changing how storage, property rules, transfers, and travel are interpreted. These shifts can trap normal owners who rely on old maps and old habits. You learned how gray areas form and how enforcement treats technical definitions seriously. You also learned that planning beats panic and documentation beats memory every time. Across the country, thousands face charges yearly from misunderstandings, not bad intentions. You now have information worth real money, and you can use it today. Here's the final punch I want stuck in your mind after this video ends. Most people don't lose rights because they're violent. They lose them by mistakes. One rushed stop, one missed sign, one casual transfer, one unclear transport choice. Then the system moves fast, and the stress bill shows up with it. So don't treat legal updates like entertainment, treat them like maintenance. You protect your home with locks, and you protect your freedom with routines. If this helped, here's what to do next while it's still fresh. Subscribe so you catch the next update before it hits your daily routine. Share this with someone you care about because mistakes spread through bad assumptions. Comment your state below because I track trends and respond when I can. And if you've had a close call, say so because others learn from it. Your engagement helps the right people find this before an officer teaches them. Let's keep responsible owners informed, calm, and protected as rules keep moving. Important disclaimer: this video is educational only, not legal, financial, tax, or medical advice. Every situation differs, and laws and court interpretations vary by state and locality. Consult licensed professionals, including attorneys and qualified instructors, before acting on this content. Don't rely on a single video to make decisions that could affect your rights. What works for one person may not work for you, even in the same state.